claim that Rosenstein encouraged cabinet officers to remove Trump under the 25th Amendment. Here to explain why that's significant is Talking Points analyst Michael Furnari.
This morning, rumors swirled that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein had resigned from his position. Rosenstein had expected to be fired after a scandal-ridden week. However, confusion abounded after he was photographed walking into the White House early in the afternoon. After leaving a meeting with higher-level White House staff, Rosenstein reportedly escaped the lion's den with his job still intact, for now. The Deputy AG will meet with President Trump on Thursday after Trump returns from his trip to the UN. Rosenstein came under fire last week after reports surfaced that called Rosenstein's credibility and loyalty into question. On Friday, the New York Times reported that Rosenstein wanted to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office back in 2017. He also proposed wearing a wire to record the president and recruiting other top officials to support the president's removal. A source told Fox News that Rosenstein's comments were sarcastic in nature, while others suggest that they're an unprecedented attack on the president. Now, what is the 25th Amendment? The 25th Amendment deals with the succession of the president. The clause that Rosenstein is allegedly alluding to gives power to the vice president and principal members of the cabinet to declare the president unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Under this scenario, the vice president would immediately assume the role of acting president. If the sources that attribute these comments to Rosenstein are accurate, this has major ramifications for the presidency and for the looming Mueller investigation. In the wake of Attorney General Jeff Sessions' recusal, Rosenstein oversees the Mueller probe. In recent months, the investigation has lost legitimacy among most Republicans. Between Peter Strzok's pro-Clinton text messages, Rosenstein's alleged plotting, and the president's all-caps tweets, many Republicans are prepared to write the investigation off entirely as nothing more than a partisan plot to avenge the events of 2016. And on the other side, the stakes are ratcheting up. Paul Manafort, Andrew McCabe, Michael Flynn, James Comey, and many more can all be listed as casualties of whatever may have happened between the campaign and Russia in the winter of 2016.
Now, Michael, I know you just alluded to it, but can you just talk a little more about the potential for Rosenstein's firing?
So I think it's going to be kind of a toss-up for Rosenstein. Now, it doesn't look very good for him because, as we've seen, President Trump does not really hesitate to fire people. He's had a lot of agitation with the Mueller investigation, and he also does not have a very high tolerance for what he perceives as disloyalty. So I think he might be in some trouble on Thursday.
So this is the second time in a few weeks that we've seen Trump's fitness for office called into question and the 25th Amendment brought up. So how has the administration gotten to this point of frustration?
I think it's important to remember when these comments took place. Now, if you remember, these comments allegedly are from the spring of 2017 rather, and that's a time where Steve Bannon was in the White House, and there was a lot of confusion. A lot of aides and a lot of members of the staff were kind of warring against each other on a daily basis, and I think it harkens back to a point where people were really unsure where this presidency was going to go. Now, there hasn't been a lot of stability since then, but I think it's very important to look back at when it was. Now, where this leaves us today is that there still is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of not a strong sense of unity among Trump's staff. I think a lot of people have very different strategies for how they see their role in this White House.
Now, speaking of uncertainty, Rod Rosenstein, of course, oversees the Mueller probe. So how does, a potential Rosenstein firing impact the investigation?
As I mentioned earlier, I think there have been so many developments between what happened with Andrew McCabe or Peter Strzok that Republicans and Trump's base especially are really very ready to throw this investigation out. And unless something extremely conclusive comes up from this investigation, I think it's going to be really tough to kind of rile up a majority against Trump with whatever comes out about these allegations.
All right, thank you, Michael. We'll certainly be monitoring this week. Coming up,